It's your Locked On Flyers podcast for Tuesday, November 22nd. Your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that thinks everything's coming up Tanner Laczynski on today's show.
That's true.
All right, we're going to get into that game against Calgary and Phantoms Tuesday on today's show.
You're Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, I am Rachel Donner. You can find me on Twitter at rmiriam. I'm here as always with Russ Cohen, who's on Twitter at Sportsology. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. You can follow us on Twitter or Instagram at Locked On Flyers. You'll keep up to date on all of our episodes and Flyers news. You can also email the show at lockedonflyers@gmail.com. We've got a mailbag on tomorrow's show, so get those questions in for us. Like I said, we are going to talk about that loss to Calgary from last night and get into a pretty solid weekend from the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. Locked On Flyers is free and available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Odyssey, wherever you are listening. So subscribe. You'll get all of our episodes here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Plus, we're over on YouTube. So subscribe there as well. Russ, Igor Zamula was sent down as we predicted, and as we'll talk about later in the show, deservedly so. Tanner Laczynski was brought up from Lehigh Valley and didn't get any updates on Lawton or Konechny other than we'll find out at some point today, according to the team. And so we were left with a pretty bare bones lineup for sure. I mean, when you start Morgan Frost at 1C, I think it's going to be a struggle.
Yeah, no doubt. Just so everybody knows, viewers and listeners, a lot of the injured Flyers were here tonight, so that's why you're getting the update, because they probably just had their all their checkups to see where they're at. Yeah, it was going to be a battle. There's no question about it, and after a while, it just became a puck possession show by Calgary. There were some things that were surprising in this game. I will say, as you said to start, Tanner Laczynski played a really good game. Hayes made that one play where it was nice, and Laczynski was there for the deflection. That was good. It was good to answer back being down 2-0, because at that point, the Flyers didn't have a lot of life. That did give them a little bit of life. Unlike the fight where I tweeted that they gave them no life because they went down 2-0. None. It didn't matter. But this was a weird game because, hockey could be very deceiving. You can get a team like Calgary that's, controlling the puck, trying to get that fourth goal, and for a while couldn't do it. So the Flyers did stay in the game. They maybe had, one scoring chance, at the end there when they pulled the goalie, but I don't understand why they kept Carter Hart out after it was 4-2. I feel like John Tortorella did that to punish the guys on the ice because, again, it didn't seem like they were playing as hard at that point, and I thought I saw Trevor Lewis kind of smirking and laughing a little bit on the bench after that fifth goal. I don't, it's like, why? That was a question for me.
Yeah, I mean, I did think they were working really hard with the extra attacker when it was still, 3-2.
Yes.
And, when that empty net goal happened, that was definitely deflating. But yeah, it just felt like a really strong defensive battle where that was the focus for both teams. And so it was a low event game, not a ton of shots. And it was going to be a mistake that allowed one team or another to score. And sure enough, that's what it was pretty much across the board. And, the Flyers, I think if they had only been able to take advantage of the power play, now granted, it's a depleted power play given the personnel, but still it's a power play. And
look, I mean, there's enough talent there. I mean, even on power play too, you had Provorov, Sanheim. Like, there's enough talent there that you should be able to get some goals on the power play.
Yeah, so between those power play opportunities and the extra attacker at the end, to not get one goal out of all of that time was a little frustrating, and I think the big difference in this game overall.
Yeah, I do think you're right. I do think it was a big difference. I tracked. I was looking at shifts because it seemed like some guys weren't out there that much. They were really quick shifts, and Patrick Brown seemed to have the shortest. And he was on. I think he was on the ice for 5 penalties. So, it's
Yikes.
you look at that and you say, why is Patrick Brown getting played like this? Like, this is where I would like to see somebody from Lehigh there who can maybe give them a little offensive punch. But, it wasn't going to be the case. So fine. You're going to get results like this. This game showed the Flyers' lack of speed too. It did, because a lot of the reason Calgary was able to win these defensive battles was not because of will. It was because they could skate a little better and were holding on to the puck. The 2-on-1s were bad too. Like the 2-on-1s, there were a few of them early, and you don't want to give Calgary that much of a chance like that. Like, I get it, you're undermanned and everything. Then play a tighter game, but the 2-on-1s were bad.
They were definitely not ideal. Of course, that Coleman, Backlund, Huberdeau line was in pretty good form during this game for Calgary as well, and super tough to play against. The Flyers definitely struggled against them, and I think that in a couple of areas there were some bright spots. I would say the Flyers did much better in faceoffs in this game than I
Yes.
expected. It was close to 50-50, so I'm going to give them credit for that. And I think on the other side of things, it was good to see Joel Farabee get on the board again. I think, I was just thinking to myself in the first period, God, like, this is a good game for Joel Farabee to step up, right? Like, this would be a good moment for him. And then he scored later in the game.
Yeah, that's like
So,
his bread and butter. Like, that's how he used to get a lot of goals, on a play like that, where he's kind of got the goalie one-on-one. He's got a great shot. He put a little deception on it. That was terrific. Like that, you felt good for him, because I know people are starting to look at him like, hey, why aren't you getting more points? And it's like, listen, he is coming back from a hard injury, and sometimes it still takes a while to kick in, especially in, that kind of injury. So I felt like that's, probably a nice step for him. The thing that's bad is, and some of the talk in the press box is, now that the Flyers have lost 7, they could easily lose 10 in a row. And that's what you want to, stop. You've got to try and stop this. And I felt like Carter Hart did everything he could to do that. He was up against it almost from the very beginning, if you think about it.
yeah. And, I think that one of the interesting questions that was asked of John Tortorella after the game was, do you feel like you're tiring Carter Hart out? And he was like, I don't think there's a such thing as that unless you're playing consecutive games. I think, your top goalie should be ready to play in any given situation. And, the next few opponents are the Caps, the Pens, and the Islanders. And I would suspect that Carter Hart would play 2, if not 3 of those games.
Yeah, I agree. But just to give you a perspective, I would disagree a little bit with John on that. I know he's given like a patented answer there, but like Blake Coleman said in the Calgary room, hey, we're still giving up too many grade A chances with Markstrom. And Markstrom did make one really nice save when the Flyers had the extra attacker out there before the empty netter. If Blake Coleman felt that way, then John Tortorella should feel that way for all the grade A chances that Carter Hart has against him, because it's more than most teams.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. But it was a very weird game. Like we started off by saying, in terms of it just being kind of uneventful overall. But unfortunately, a loss for the Flyers, 7 in a row. We'll see if they can turn things around over the next week
And
or
there's one more.
so.
There was one more little oddity. Daryl Sutter did not do the post game. Kirk Muller did. We saw Daryl Sutter walking past us like John Tortorella did in Columbus, and Daryl Sutter just went right past everybody, right out of the building.
All right. Well, we are going to be talking about the Phantoms coming up next, and it might seem to you like we reversed time, and sure, we did.
Yep.
And so you'll see some daylight in the next couple of segments, but we'll get to that coming up next. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer, esports, and of course the NHL. We've got it all at BetOnline.net. And if you love sports podcasts just like ours, you can find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. Bet Online, where the game starts. Check out Locked On Sports today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports today, available on this app, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Russ, it's time for Phantoms Tuesday, one of my favorite parts of the week. And man, this Phantoms team has been so much fun the last few weeks. They had a 5-game winning streak going until they lost on Sunday to Springfield, but I have to say, a really strong effort in the 2 games against Providence. We talked about that last week in our update, that Providence was the number 1 team in the AHL and it was going to be tough. They won both games. And I have to say, Providence is not as impressive as they were sold as.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just catch things at the right time. The Phantoms were hot. Maybe they, just had their number for those couple of games, but it's good. I mean, it was a good testing ground and they're over 500. So that's, it's a good start. They're crazily enough, they're still near the bottom, but they're a few games behind. So maybe that'll be a part of it.
Yeah, I hope so. I think that, for the most part, they really had a strong effort going. I think with that 3rd game, they just need to work on adjusting the lineup a little bit better when they're playing tired. Like for instance, the penalty kill was 8 for 9 on Friday and Saturday combined, and then 2 for 6 on the Sunday.
Yeah.
Like you could just tell watching the game that they were exhausted out there. One of them was a 5-on-3, but still, I think that that's just one thing that they could maybe improve on. Also, I think Pat Nagel likes it better when he plays more often. Like he'd been sitting for a while and he was
Yeah.
definitely rusty. I think if they're going to have him up there, they need to play him a little bit more in net.
I think that's fair. I mean, that there is something to be said about that. But no, I things are going good. I just, I look at the defensive pairs. I wish from a development standpoint it was different. And so, like, what I would do is have York and Attard on the top pairing. I don't understand why Louis Belpedio's there. It doesn't really do anything for you long term. And then I could put Wiley with Connaughton because again, I don't know why you wouldn't have the guys that you're expecting to be there next year and the year after with Wiley maybe playing bottom minutes. Like it's just, Belpedio is a plug. He's never going to be a Flyer. And Kevin Connaughton, maybe he plays a few games here and there. I get it that, he's liked by the coaching staff up with the big club, but I've got to look at development and I'm not really doing all I can with that. It's great for York. And Attard, sure, he's playing with a veteran for a little while. That's fine. But I think he should play with York because at some point I would bring up the whole pairing. Like that's my goal is to bring up that pairing, let them be the 3rd pair for a little while for the last, I don't know, 30, 40 games of the season, something like that, and not worry about the Nick Sealers and the Belpedios, what they're doing.
Yeah, or you could pair one of them with Zamula while he's down there.
That too.
I think that's a good option as
Yeah.
well. But I do want to talk about 2 of the key guys from this past weekend, and that's Tanner Laczynski and Artem Anisimov. Anisimov had his debut for the Phantoms. He played Friday and Saturday, but it was too much, for his first games back to have him play a third game. So he was
Right.
held out of the lineup on Sunday. His debut on Friday was funny because Mike Riley was playing for Providence. And so you have these like NHL grizzled
Yeah.
vets out there going at it against each other. I really thought Anisimov was rusty, but he got better as the game progressed on Friday. Saturday, he was, just kind of there. He had a giveaway or two, but I think, the effort was there. He's just getting his sea legs back,
Yeah.
and he probably needs a little bit more time.
Yeah, there's no question he needs a little more time, and that's fine. I mean, again, long term, I'm not sure you're worried about having Artem Anisimov with the team, but this year, fine if you want to bring him up there because you just want to change things up. I'm not against that.
Yeah, on the Tanner Laczynski front, you could really tell that he was gonna try and make the most of his time with the
Yeah,
Phantoms. Of course, with the Lawton injury, we kinda knew that he was gonna be the guy that
yeah,
was gonna be called back up. We talked about that in, the first segment, but at the same time, he did what he had to do to be the one to get that call up back. He played a million minutes on Friday in every situation. Really nice assist on a Tyson Foerster goal
yeah,
in that game. And then Saturday, he was just on an absolute mission. He was creating chances everywhere, 8 shots on goal in the game, had the shootout winner, a golden assist in the game itself. And this breakaway goal he had was absolutely incredible. So if you want to talk about a statement game, that was absolutely a statement game.
yeah, and that's great for him. I mean, again, probably should never have been sent down.
Right.
So at least he'll get that other chance. He has proven himself as far as giving the effort, showing some offense. We'll see. We'll see what kind of position he's put in when he goes up there. I mean, if it's fourth line center, you know, then he doesn't get the same opportunities, but I guess it's better than nothing.
Yeah. As far as the other key prospects that we're keeping an eye on, you mentioned Ronnie Attard in the
Yeah.
defense pairings with York. I thought he had a really solid weekend, a goal and 2 assists. And I thought his play was really strong. I thought, while the power play wasn't hugely successful, I thought it looked a little improved for the Phantoms. The puck movement was much better. The puck was getting around the horn a lot more effectively. They weren't losing the puck as much, and I felt like he was a part of that.
Yeah, I mean, I saw one play where Adder's definitely now getting a quicker release off his wrist shot, getting it on net. That's what you need to do. Uh, I think that's very helpful. That's helpful for him for down the road, and it's helpful for the Phantoms now. So that sort of made me happy. The his goal output's been really good. He's been good, and so now we want to see. Like I want to see where he is at the 20 game mark. Because at the 20 game mark, that's where I may, in my mind, I might make a decision where, okay, why isn't Ronnie Attard going to get another call up, and why is Nick Sealer still playing, and those kinds of things. Is there not a spot for Ronnie Attard? That's where you kind of wonder at some point where that's going to stand, and I hope he's going to get that chance. It looks like he's on the path, but I can't tell you he's definitely going to get the call up. And again, Sealer's a lefty, so they might do something else. I always not worry about Sealer because I know what they can do with Braun, but it doesn't mean Torts will do that. So that's
Right.
the other fly in the ointment is if Adder's got to replace another righty, then it's tougher for him to get in there.
Right. And I think with Cam York, it's going to be a similar situation, right? It's going to go a few more games than that. I think it's going to be
Yeah,
like the
it is.
30 game mark for him, like we've been
Yeah.
talking about. But he's continuing to build his game away from the puck. And the way the coaches were talking, they want to make sure he builds consistency in all parts of his game. He's doing a really good job of recovering from mistakes on his own now. I think that he would get a little flustered earlier, but now that's kind of getting more under control. He did a lot of good things on Friday and Saturday. Even though he wasn't on the score sheet, he had an assist on Sunday. He blocked a Frick shot, which you kind of don't want to do. Those are pretty
No.
hard shots
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Martin Frick. So I think that showed a lot of character in that
Frick
moment.
can shoot. That's the one thing he can
Hmm.
do is shoot. I would say this, ideally at the trading deadline, you trade Braun. Sealer just drops down to whatever. Even if it goes to the Phantoms, it's fine. And then you got York on the left side, Attard on the right side, and you run with that for the rest of the season. I'd like to see the coach do that because I think at that point, that's what's best for the next year. But we'll see.
Yeah, I just wonder then where Zamula fits in to the picture.
I don't know
But
if he's going to fit in. I hate to say it. He just seems like an odd man out at the moment. And you got to be careful about those odd man out when they're defensemen. Like you have to really be careful about that because I've seen around the league guys that have sort of, been shed from other teams because they're not necessarily cutting it and they do well with the next team they go to. So I would be very careful about it, about thinking
yeah.
about moving them.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be a tough situation. I wonder if one of those 3 ends up as part of a trade at some
I
point.
think one of them will.
Yeah, I think that's entirely possible. All right, we have a bunch more to talk about related to the Phantoms coming up next.
Today's episode is brought to you by Simply Safe. Did you know that over the holidays, property crimes like burglaries and package theft spiked nationally? That's why our friends at Simply Safe Home Security are offering 50% off their award-winning security system so that more families can feel safe and secure this holiday season. Order your Simply Safe system for half off today and enjoy advanced security and greater peace of mind this holiday season. Simply Safe's advanced technology is what I love the most. I can control the system from my phone with the app and even watch the HD live stream from the security cameras or monitor the wide variety of high-tech sensors in every room. In an emergency, 24/7 professional monitoring agents use Fast Protect technology exclusively from Simply Safe to capture critical evidence and verify the threat is real so you can get the priority police response. Don't miss our chance to save big on the only security system I recommend. Get 50% off any new Simply Safe system at simplysafe.com/lockedonnhl today. That's the biggest discount of the year, so don't wait. That's simplysafe.com/lockedonnhl. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Getting back to our weekly check-in with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, Tyson Foerster finally broke through again with a goal on Friday. It was a great shot off a nice feed from Tanner Laczynski on the power play. But I kind of want to talk about this line combination they have going now with Jackson Cates and
Mhm.
Tyson Foerster. Laczynski played with them on Friday and Saturday. Laczynski was out Sunday, presumably, again, because of that call up. But I think that that combination of the two of them is helping both of their games.
It is. Forster is not a big passer. Like he's okay at it. It's not in his nature. And I think Cates, because he does the give and go, and Cates just is one of these guys that's very active, has sort of brought Forster in and is helping his playmaking, helping to improve his playmaking a bit, and that's good because again, I still don't think Forster has enough goals to make a dent as far as getting a call up, but I do feel like if he's going to all of a sudden add this other element to his game, that'll help him at the next level when goals get tough. So I think Jackson Cates is doing something for him, and Cates has been great. What I think the Flyers need to figure out at some point is he a quadruple A guy or should he be up there and maybe playing with his brother, looking for some chemistry that way? Because the Flyers do need more scoring from more lines, and if he keeps scoring, they're going to have to look at it at some point.
Yeah, Jackson had a great game on Sunday individually, even though they lost. He had a goal and an assist in that one, but had, again, several great chances. And I love that chemistry. I think the idea of a call up for him is a good one in theory. The problem is that they keep moving Cates up the lineup. And I
Right.
don't think they can justify putting Jackson in at that highest spot
No,
on
but
the
Noah shouldn't
Flyers
be there
lineup.
either. Like that's the
Well,
reality.
it's true. I think
Yeah.
maybe if some of the other guys come back, like if, JVR is back and TK is back,
Don't say
uh,
Cam Atkinson because it's almost the end of November and we haven't even
I
heard
did
his
not
name.
say that name.
I know.
But I'm saying, like, if, those guys are back and
Yeah.
they move Noah down the lineup a little bit, maybe it's worth giving it a shot. But I do think both of their games have stepped up a little bit, and they both had real solid weekends. Cooper Marody is also helping,
Yeah.
I think, in the lineup as well. I think he's been a help not just to Elliot Denoye, but Zayd Wisdom when they've played together. And I think that while he's a solid AHL player and is less likely to get that call up, I think he's doing the Lord's work and helping our other prospects
Right.
develop.
I think ultimately that's what he's there for. But if he does have a big year, you got to look at him maybe late in the year just to see if you're going to keep him for next year. But he's done a really good job. He's smart. He does the right kind of chip ins.
Mhm.
He'll create some plays. He'll get some shots on net. He's got 3 points in 6 games. Like I like what I see out of him, and it's pretty much the same guy that I've always seen. It's just he's a little bit of a smaller guy, and unless you're scoring like crazy, teams tend to shy away from it, but he's a smart player.
Yeah, he really is, and I look forward to more games with him, especially as guys go up and down. If
Yeah,
he gets the chance to play with different prospects, I want to see kind of what that effect is moving forward. He's only been playing for 2 weekends now.
right, right.
So I just want to see how the cycle goes for him over the next month or so. I do want to shout out Wyatt Wiley getting his first goal of the season on Sunday. He had two supposed goals previously that were taken away because there were
Oh,
tips
that's tough.
in
Yeah.
front, and this one was finally his on Sunday. So congrats, Wyatt, finally getting that one. But yeah,
Yeah,
I think, overall, again, it was a good weekend. They
it
just have
was.
to figure out how to play that third game in a stretch
Yeah,
and not get baited too much. That game on Sunday, just so many fights and scrums after
yeah.
whistles, and it was kind of a mess, and that's why they gave up 4 power play goals in that one. So hopefully they can fix things moving forward. One thing that does not need to get fixed is Sam Erson. He is
Yeah.
really playing well. He played Friday and Saturday. They've been using him back to back, and he's loving it and says as much in the interviews. So hopefully they can keep going with having him play, both games in a 2-game weekend.
Yeah, he's just a great guy, a delight, very positive attitude. Really, just when he plays, he's smart. He really knows how to play the angles. He's a guy that I do expect to be at least a pro backup, maybe a 1B, possibly, but again, there's not much room to be a 1B in the Flyers. So at some point, Sandstrom and or Urson, one of them will get moved.
Yeah, I think so too. The Phantoms are at Wilkes-Barre Scranton on Friday and home against the Rochester Americans on Saturday. So we will talk about those games next week. Our Flyers fun thing is that Tanner Laczynski breakaway goal. I've watched it about 6 times now and might do it some more because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, he could surprise you, but he has good wheels and he has a good skill level. He does. Even though he's kind of like a meat and potatoes guy, the way he is now at the college level, he was more of a skill guy. So it's nice to see that it's still in his game.
That is it for us today. We will be back again tomorrow. We're going to preview the Flyers versus the Caps. That should be an interesting matchup. We'll have our mailbag as well. So get in your questions. You can tweet us at Locked On Flyers. You can message us on Instagram at the same handle. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail, or you can comment over on YouTube. Lots of ways to get in touch. I am Rachel. I'm on Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology, SPORTSOLOGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen today. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. It's the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and their take of the day. It's available on Odyssey or YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Have a great day, everyone.